about shared spaces is interesting, because there's obviously the shared spaces can be within the building, or they can be, you know, outside the building, you know, in the sort of the communal areas of the city. What do you think is more important? Like, do you think it's better for people to get to know their neighbours inside their building, or is it better for them to get to know their neighbours up and down the street? Or
probably horses for courses. I know that in our current building, Shorten Flats, I had this conversation once with a long-time resident there when we were talking about, well, what is neighbourhood in the city centre? And his answer was, well, it was his building. And I think, you know, there are parts of the city centre that have, well, I believe, have people living there for longer term. You know, there are people who move in and actually make that conscious decision that the city centre is where I want to live long term. And so those areas tend to lend themselves to both within the building, building those relationships, and external within that sort of pocket of space. I guess, I mean, I am largely talking about, particularly over Emily Place up to Parliament Street, that sort of space there. There's I could be wrong, but my sense is there's a lot more permanent residential as opposed to just coming in and leaving again for the suburbs later on territory.
That seems to be one of the, like, because that I found out years ago, but that's got a little name of its own. That's referred to as Eden Quarter. That particular area, it's like you got Emily Place, Parliament Street, Eden Crescent, top of Shortland Street, and that sort of thing. And it seems to be one of the original places where they thought, let's build apartment buildings, because you've got some really beautiful old apartment buildings on the corner of crikey, I can't remember the street now, but just up on the end of Parliament Street there, by the court.
Parliament and Waterloo Quadrant.
Yeah. And those seem to be the place that you're referring to, where the apartments are probably, you know, they probably were a bit bigger, but can like lend themselves to more sort of long-term living, not so much short-term in and out type thing. And it's funny. Well, I don't know if it's funny. It is now.
Like those, I mean, we live in a heritage building. It was built as apartments or as flats. We jokingly talk about having a hallway, which can be quite unique. It's all of, you know, a couple of good strides, but nonetheless, and kind of has an entranceway into the flat. When I compare that against places which, look, they're fine, and I'm not being, I don't want to be critical about them, but that said, opening the front door and immediately hitting a 2-element stove kind of on your left it just talks about a little bit of a lack of permanence from my point of view.
And I guess the design of those particular that particular style of accommodation is dependent on a whole lot of factors. I mean, you know, they're potentially looking at what's the most efficient design. Like open plan living is so popular now, so let's have everything opening off the living area, eliminate the hallway, like you say, and that, you know, that's gives you a little bit more space. You're right, a hallway in an apartment is a luxury. It's like, it provides a sense that you wouldn't feel like you're in an apartment. You feel more like you're in a house.
Yeah.